Today's adventure, I brought you to Rotunda, West Florida to introduce you to the Silver King, one of the most highly sought after sport fish in the world. How can conserving this one unique fish species be the key to saving a whole multitude of animals? The secret lies in the ecology, and we're gonna meet one individual who's dedicated her professional life to saving the kingdom of the tarpon. Let's go. Good morning, Joellen.
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for having us out here. I like your office.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
What's your official job title?
I'm the Juvenile Tarpon Habitat Program Manager for Bonefish and Tarpon Trust.
And this is ideally what you do most days of the month?
Absolutely, ideally. We do sample this about one day a month.
I suppose you're pretty at ease being out here in the canals and stuff?
Oh yeah, the gators and the hogs, you know, they don't mess with us.
Those are your coworkers.
Right.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like we got a lot of work to do, so I guess let's get at it.
All right.
I knew I was in for a fun day as we drug a boat through the sandy forest in what would have to be one of the most unique commutes to work. A job as physically demanding as we were about to do couldn't be accomplished alone, so we had to recruit some extra muscle, crazy enough to get into the Black Florida waters without fear of gators, snakes, and snapping turtles.
Rosa.
Hi, Becca. Nice to meet you. So, Joellen was telling me that you volunteered to help with this today,
Yes, I did.
and it sounds like you've been volunteering for quite a while.
Yes, I have, over 10 years.
Surprising creatures in the same net.
Yeah, so about 2 months ago, we caught probably about a 5-foot feisty alligator in one of our nettings. It's not unusual for us to see alligators in these kind of habitats, and then specifically at this location. But normally we're able to avoid them.
The more I was around Joellen, the more I could tell that this wasn't just a job for her.
I was fortunate enough to be born and raised in Punta Gorda, Florida, the town where we're pretty close to now. Grew up fishing Charlotte Harbor every weekend with my dad and my family. And so I always thought the only opportunity was to be a fishing guide. But then fishing guides, they don't really fish. They take people fishing and they get up really early.
Doesn't sound ideal.
Not at all. So once I got into high school, I saw the potential that there was for marine biology. I still fish quite a bit. You know, myself, my family, we're pretty much on the water every weekend, every chance that we get. It's got a little bit more meaning for me.
Just in case you're a little confused at what we're doing, the goal is to spread this giant net out and capture juvenile tarpon. What we do with them after we catch them is still a mystery at this point, but I do know that the net is heavy and that there's a lot of stuff being drug in that we didn't want.
So this stuff is what we call green filamentous algae. It's a big problem that we've been having in and around Charlotte Harbor and around the state. Temperature is 28, salinity is 28.73.
Oh, look at that one.
That was a big one. Whoa. So this is one of our invasive exotic species, the Mayan cichlid.
So how would this guy be bad for the environment?
So basically, the general rule when an invasive species comes in is that typically they can outcompete the natural species, either for habitats, for food, and then often they have fewer predators.
So we like the snook.
We like the snook. Each snook and tarpon that we get are equipped with a passive integrated transponder or a pit tag. These work like a microchip for your pet.
So if you catch this guy again, you'll be able to check growth and whatnot.
Exactly. So although we're saying that tarpon are the main event, snook are in a class of their own. Now, snook have had a pretty hard time in the last decade or so. 2010, Florida had what we call one of our record cold snaps. We lost about 80% of our West Coast snook populations in the Charlotte Harbor and West Coast of Florida. After that, the guides and anglers kind of banded together and said, let's shut the snook fishery down. They shut down the snook fishery on the West Coast of Florida for about 5 years, on the East Coast for about 4 years, opened it back up. And then in 2017, we started having, again, world record red tides. So again, they got hit quite a bit, killed a lot of fish. They've been closed ever since.
So some of the biggest issues for tarpon and snook are going to be invasives, the red tide and filamentous algae. And Is there anything else?
So, and we're looking at all these things and we say, oh, well, you know, there's nothing I can do about that. That's naturally occurring. But those are just the little symptoms that we can see. The bigger problem is the habitat, the decline in habitat, changes to hydrology that also affects the habitat, and that's all based off of infrastructure, things that we're doing. But yeah, those are the big issues that they're facing. And then they have kind of these little jabs on top of it.
So without the data that you collect out here today, we wouldn't know what was going on.
We would have no idea.
Wow. Sounds like we need a lot more Joellens running around collecting data.
Yeah. I'll create a little army.
Unfortunately for us, cloning Joellen isn't a viable option.
So we can get those numbers and see exactly which fish are moving, where they're moving to, what habitats that they all seem to be frequenting, if they're able to make it into specific habitats, and basically which restoration design overall is the best.
You guys got a lot of cool toys. I love
we
where
do.
science and conservation meet.
All the technology.
Yeah.
At this point, you're probably dying to see what the Silver King actually looks like.
All right, so here's why we came out here today. Here's why y'all are putting all this effort into catching this fish.
Yep, this is the main event.
All right, so why is the conservation of this fish so important for the other wildlife species that call this wetlands their home?
It's estimated that Florida's lost about 50% of its mangrove habitat. So that could be 50% of its juvenile tarpon habitat. For a fish that takes 8 to 10 years to mature, lives to 80 years old, the big ones that people are coming here to target and paying a lot of money, putting a lot of money into the economy to target, those guys could be 20, 30 years old. Well, when you start looking at declines in the fishery, it's not something that just happened. It's something that you could have done 30 years ago. So we're looking at tarpon and using tarpon as kind of our flashy species of interest, but really we're protecting these tidal creeks. Really we're protecting these mangrove habitats that are on the decline. However, people, can't really wrap their heads around mangroves and what they can do to protect them, but they can definitely wrap their head around tarpon and what that means and what it means to him and the cultural and the economic importance of the fish. So at the end of the day, if we don't have healthy habitats, we don't have healthy fisheries. So we're using fish as the poster child to protect the habitat.
This is a pretty common and effective marketing technique used by conservation organizations. People don't always get fired up about conserving a type of habitat, but you will get their undying support and a lot of dollars if you select the right mascot.
I think there's a big misconception that when you work for a nonprofit, that the employee has to suffer, and that's not really the case. BTT is relatively small for the amount of stuff that we do. We have about 6 to 8 members on staff in our main office, which is in Miami, Florida, and then we have 5 scientists on staff. We all get to work out of our home regions. I have health insurance, I have dental insurance, I have a 401k plan that has a match from my organization, so I wouldn't just let working for a nonprofit deter you from moving into that field if that's what you're passionate about.
And it sounds like you're doing work that your daughters can be proud of as they get older.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's, we were having the conversation this weekend about what would you do if you could do anything in the world. And honestly, I love what I do, and I feel like a lot of people would choose my job. I know that we're coming out here and we're doing samples and it looks like small things tagging fish. But then when I go back to my computer and I write this stuff up and we publish manuscripts and we talk to our state management agency and we provide these frameworks in order to change the way that fisheries are managed in the state of Florida, it's pretty big stuff. And so I know that my family is going to look back one day and say, hey, my mom was there at the forefront doing this.
I mean, look around us. This is what you're doing it for.
Yeah, this is my office.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank y'all enough. This has been incredible, and the conservation work is so important. And so thank you for sharing your day with us. And I'm going to leave y'all here for finishing up this work while we go on our next adventure. But y'all and the job that you're doing is the definition of working on the wild side. So
awesome.
Keep up the good work, and it's been a heck of a day.
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed it.
All right, y'all. See you around.
Although these fish species have had a pretty rough past couple years, I know that their future's bright with wild women like Joellen and Becca in their corner.